promote and support Colton's independence and self-sufficiency. And just want to take a moment to introduce everyone that we have here with us. First, there's myself. I'm Beth, and I'm his board certified behavior analyst. I've had the pleasure of working with Colton for the last 4 years while he's been in high school. His mom, Stephanie, has also been able to join us today. Our school psychologist, Shazine, is also present, and Tiffany is joining us as a representative of the Illinois Department of Human Services. She also works currently with the Supported Employee Program at some local businesses, and so she'll be sharing some information about that as well. Before we begin, I just want to give you all a little bit of insight into what our key themes for our discussion will be today. First and foremost, we want to be talking about Colton's future after graduation. We have been excited to see him become a young man, and there's a lot that may be changing for him as he moves into adulthood. We also want to be ensure that we're including his family in the decision-making process. So Stephanie, we're so glad that you can join us today. And we definitely will be covering what types of support will be available to you, and also what this process will be like for transitioning, and some long-term considerations that you'll want to be talking about as well. And now, as we get started, Colton, would you like to get us going here and share some of your goals for your future after high school?
Sure. Thanks for coming, everybody. What I really want is just to be treated like all my other classmates. I know I have a disability and I have some challenges, but I really think that I can live independently, get a job, support myself. One of my most immediate goals is, I guess two of my most immediate goals would be to get a job and move out of my mom's house. Along with that, I really just want to live around people who I can make friends with and who will support me with whatever I'm doing. Basically, I just want to be in a place where I can make my own choices.
Absolutely. We really understand that that is something that's a priority for you. So thanks for sharing. Now, to get us started talking about these things today, we're going to want to go over a lot of options, and there's going to be several topics we're going to address. First of all, we want to address Colton's needs along with what we all feel is best for him. And while there's going to be pros and cons to many of these issues, I just want to remind everyone that our ultimate goal is to discuss both what is best for Colton and what's going to align with his own personal goals for his future. So we'll discuss these things throughout our meeting today. And next, I'd like to turn the floor over to Stephanie. And I'm hoping you can share with us what some of your goals and aspirations are for your son.
Thank you, Beth. It's pretty crazy that we're at this point. And really what I want for my son is for him to be safe and happy. So I've been thinking about it a lot lately about what my goals are for him. And of course, I want him to be able to make his own decisions. But as a parent, it's very scary. You know, when he was little, I kind of dreamed of the typical, oh, my son will, go to college and then, get a job and have a family. And I know that we're adjusting to where he is now. He's made a lot of progress, but he still has some difficulties, which, of course, worry me. For example, I worry that maybe he won't be able to take the bus. I know that's something you guys have been working on is, having him put his wallet in his pocket and making sure that it doesn't fall out when he goes on the bus, things like that. And that's really scary to me. But I was kind of doing some research of my own, and I saw a news article, a video on PBS News about this program that really helped this individual with autism in a different state. And I feel like if we could do something like that for my son, that would make me feel better and hopefully give him also what he wants. So I brought it on my phone. So I wanted to share it with you guys. It's only about a minute long, but kind of shows you some of the things that I want to address and make sure that he's okay with. So I'm just gonna share that with you right now.
Thanks for bringing that, Stephanie. I think that's going to be really helpful to understand what your perspective is on your goal for him.
Of course.
Tonight, we begin an occasional series about people living with autism and other spectrum disorders, a place in the world. While reporting the history of autism for their book, In a Different Key, The Story of Autism, co-authors John Donvan and Karen Zucker found a program in Phoenix, Arizona that expands options for people living with autism. This is the first of 2 reports.
Why is it a big deal that Josh Kluger gets up every morning and makes his own breakfast and straightens up the place a little, and then remembers belatedly to go back and grab his lunch before he heads off to work, which takes a quarter-mile hike, texting all the way, before he reaches the bus stop, and then a 45-minute trip with one transfer along the way. And when I come on board and Josh shows me how to swipe my ticket, and it comes back, yes. Why is that a big deal? Because until last year, Josh had experienced none of this. No apartment, no paying job, no bus pass even. Actually, he'd never ridden a bus on his own before last year. How old are you now?
I'm 36.
You only really began being able to ride the bus when you were already over 30.
I think so, yes.
What did you have to learn?
Oh, I learned how streets.
And though Josh is not the chattiest person around, except perhaps when he's texting, you can tell from his stride and from his air of confidence about where he's heading that Josh really likes the life he has right now.
Is this ours? Yes.
Okay. And that he's going to keep going with it, autism or not.
So as much as I would love to watch that whole video because it made me, of course, very emotional, I'm not going to because I know that we are in a meeting and that we have to talk about my son. But, and I'm also going to stop sharing this with you all as well. So, that video really spoke to a lot of my concerns, and I won't be around forever to take care of him. And so I want to make sure that he is safe and he's happy. And then after that, then my next concerns are, what is his living situation going to look like? What is his job situation going to look like? So I really want to address my safety concerns today, and also hear what you all have to think about those things.
Thank you, Stephanie, for sharing that video. I really liked it. It really opened up my eyes to all the different factors that people with autism, Colton, may be dealing with, and that we need to work on from the ground up before, like you said, you want to work on those foundational skills. And it really shows that you're a really caring mother. And as a mother myself, I can totally understand your concerns for his safety and his well-being while he's fulfilled at the same time. And for Colton, I'm really proud of you for being here today and taking a stand for your independence and standing up for your rights and just voicing what your goals are and what your desires are.
Thank you.
Yeah, so give yourself a pat on the back. Congratulations. It's awesome that you're here. I'm very happy. So for the point of this meeting, I did pull up a research study that I felt was quite relevant. And it kind of emphasized the importance of these types of meetings. There was a study done in 2008 in Southeastern University in Florida, where about 200 families with transition age adults like you, Colton, they were studied, and out of those families, 67% of them had no knowledge of transition programs. 83% of them relied on primary care. 78% were unfamiliar with agencies that may assist in job development, and 19% of those individuals were employed, but the majority of them were working less than 20 hours a week, so it was not full-time employment. And in order for individuals and their families, for you guys to be able to make the best choices for yourselves on empowerment, versus care, you must be informed of all the available options. Some of the services that are available to you, which I'm sure you may already know of, but they include supported employment, adult day services, residential services, supported living, and so many more that we can touch on if those are things that you decide on. But yeah, let's start talking about what would be the best options for you and learning more about what your goals are.
Okay, thank you, Shazine, for sharing that article with us. Those are some really wonderful points that we're going to make sure we get to today. But now let's keep the conversation moving forward. And the first thing I think we need to discuss is options for employment for Colton, because that's going to be really the first big step for his living independently. Colton, can you share with us what your hopes are for a future job and what type of work you might be interested in doing?
Sure. Well, in school, I took some classes that really caught my interest. One of those was working with cars. Another one was, well, not really a class, but I worked with my school bake sale and helped organize the inventory and track how many cookies we had sold and how many we needed to make that day. I think I'm really good at organization and kind of good with crunching numbers. So something in that area I could see myself doing.
Okay, very neat. Thanks for sharing that. You know, I always saw you working so diligently at those weekly bake sales that I can understand how that felt really fun and rewarding for you.
Just to jump in, have the previous IEPs addressed Colton's desire to work or offered him vocational training to prepare him for the workforce?
Yeah, actually, some of his programming did address some of those factors. We worked on several functional living skills, such as preparing for the day, charging his cell phone, checking his emails. And then in addition to that, we worked on supplemental skills, such as creating conversation and taking others' perspectives.
So I know that I'm going to jump in here as well. This is obviously what I'm pretty concerned about, because of course he's come such a long way, but he'll have the occasional setback. So there was this one time when the bus schedule changed without prior notice, and Colton had a big meltdown because he couldn't get to his uncle's house where he goes every Saturday. So I want to make sure that obviously life isn't as predictable as we'd like it to be. And, you know, I don't want my son to get on the bus and have the route change and get lost and be really upset and have nobody there to help him. So what will you guys do to address his safety out in the big scary world?
Thank you for sharing that, Stephanie. I think I can speak to that a little bit. I certainly can understand your concerns, and we're absolutely going to continue to work on those skills. Something that we've done in the past with other students is contriving situations in which something unexpected occurs, and then we help him figure out how is it that he determines what it is he needs to do. So that would definitely be something we can work on going forward to prepare him for that.
Colton, going back to what your career interests and what you hope to do, what types of jobs are you interested in? And what are some of your skills and strengths?
Well, I'm a very punctual and organized person. I know I'm not that great with people and solving interpersonal or, you know, dealing with conflict with people. So a job that maybe where I'm, you know, kind of working by myself at first, at least until I kind of get acclimated, might be better. But, you know, with that being said, my ultimate goal again is to live on my own, move out of my mom's house, and really kind of achieve all the independence that I can.
Okay, that is great. You have such well-rounded interests. Research shows that it is best when a career matches those interests, and having autism can actually be advantageous in the workplace. I was recently reading a case study that focused on a company in Denmark, and it was built on the belief that individuals with autism can thrive if the environmental conditions are right. Looking through my list, I've actually found a few opportunities that could be perfect for you.
Okay, but wait, before we move any further with that, I have concerns related to this. So, of course, I would like Colton to have a job. I can definitely attest to his being punctual and his being very organized. But again, what would those environmental conditions look like? I want to make sure that my son doesn't get taken advantage of. Will he have, people who are watching out for him? I really don't know much about supported employment. It's definitely scary to me. But will he have appropriate support, whatever job that you feel like you might place him at?
Of course, we would offer him appropriate support. There are many different options. He can have a job coach. There's someone that can go along with him. The supported employment can be long or short term, depending on the need of each individual. We can begin by working a shorter day, and we can systematically increase the duration depending on his success and his ability. So we'll move at his pace and make sure we're there so he can be successful.
Well, thank you for those suggestions, Tiffany, but that's not really what I want. I really don't want to be treated differently, like having to work a shorter day. I want to be like the other employees.
Okay, Colton, I understand. What you want is most important to us, and we will work towards making sure that you achieve that.
Thank you.
Just so everyone knows, I want to make sure that it's not just some job where he's like, of course, flipping burgers is important, but I want him to be fulfilled. And I want him to be able to use those skills that he is he's so successful with. And I did some research of my own, and I found a study that researchers found low rates of employment during transition, and that the jobs were primarily menial and part-time work in nature, which Colton just said that's exactly what he doesn't want. So how are you guys going to address this?
Exactly. I read the same study. It was done by Taylor and Seltzer a few years back, not too long ago, in 2011. So I'm sure the information's still quite relevant.
Yeah, and absolutely, that's a really great reminder, because as a BCBA, our ethics code, ensuring a good quality of life for Colton and our clients is absolutely a priority, as I'm sure it is for all of you as well. So we all are on the same page, I think, as making sure that he's having absolutely the best experience that he can be.
So what are some of the job options then, if it's not, not just menial jobs, not just flipping burgers? Are there any good options that would potentially spark Colton's interest and, make sure that he is in a good and supported environment?
Actually work with many businesses in the community, so we can find a match and we can have Colton try out a couple different places and see which one he chooses to go to and what works best for him. And one of the primary goals of supported employment is to help individuals obtain competitive jobs. We don't want him to just be flipping burgers. We want him to be able to move up in a position and do something that he loves. These can be part-time or full-time jobs. The pay is at least minimum wage, and they're jobs that anyone could have regardless of their disability status. So they're not jobs that are set aside specifically for people with disabilities. They're jobs for everyone.
Wow, that sounds awesome. I like that it would be a job that anyone could have. I never liked, being treated differently or singled out because I have autism.
Absolutely. There's really a number of benefits to competitive work. Mainly, we find the consumers express a strong preference for this over jobs that are set aside for individuals with disabilities.
So, okay, I'm sorry. I know I'm being like Debbie Downer over here, but I have many concerns. So would he actually earn a living wage doing these kinds of jobs? I've heard that, if he earns any real money, then he might lose his assistance for health insurance. He's only going to be allotted so much money to live independently and then, hold this job. So is it actually feasible for this to be his life?
Yes, a major reason that some individuals may not seek employment is fear of losing benefits. That's totally understandable. For this reason, we ensure that all consumers have access to benefits counseling when they start supported employment services and when changes occur in their work status. We consider it to be vital that consumers who are interested in working obtain accurate information to make informed decisions about their career.
Okay. I mean, that's interesting. That gives us a lot to think about, but this is definitely overwhelming. I don't ever want to see him lose benefits, and I don't know if this is the best choice for him, even though this is what he wants. Like I said, I won't be around forever, so I don't know about this.
I can understand, Stephanie, but I think it's also really valuable to note something that I found in another study that I recently came across. It compared individuals who were in supported employment programs or they were unemployed. And the study found that the individuals who were employed, they showed increased cognitive ability rather than stagnant ability that was found in those adults that were unemployed. So I think it's definitely something worth noting, something that would benefit Colton.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you, Shazine. I think that's a really valuable piece of information. And also, Stephanie, I can understand that it's overwhelming, but as you've seen how much Colton has grown over the last years that we've been working with him, he is really capable of a lot of independence in working towards his goals. And also, as his BCBA, it's one of my many responsibilities to advocate for the best interests of Colton. So while we may not see eye to eye on all these matters, we have to make sure that we're keeping Colton and what he wants at the center of our focus. And we're going to do what we can to best prepare him for that.
Oh, and one more thing. Let's not forget that another benefit of employment, something that Colton wants, is that by providing him an opportunity to engage in work that's competitive, it'll also integrate him into the community, into the workspace. And these are all amazing opportunities to build those social skills and structured opportunities. So Colton, you can look forward to team building activities, meetings, social functions, and again, these are just wonderful ways to use the skills you have and build new social skills in structured, practical settings and environments. Also, another thing to note is that you working in a normal setting, Colton, it'll help reduce the stigma of people with autism. And I'm sure all of us can say that that's something we want to strive for and achieve.
That's really cool. I never thought about, how a job could help me learn to socialize better. You guys have brought up a lot of good points and given me a lot to think about.
That is nice to hear. But I'm going to put on that hat again because I've also read some research that while social activity and friendship may increase in adulthood, there's still a lot of issues with social isolation and loneliness, and they're persistent issues. And due to the deficits in communication and socializing skills, that exist amongst many individuals with autism. And that's a scary thing to think about.
Yeah, this really scares me because making friends is not my strong suit.
And we understand that, Colton. Part of the supported employment is to offer extensive training on the job site with a job coach. And some of that training can include interpersonal skills and communication. I often find the companies we work with are open to training their staff in autism awareness to help them better understand where you're coming from and work better with individuals on the spectrum.
One thing that I've heard of that could be a good option is living in like a group home or a residential facility. What do you guys think about that?
That's definitely something we can look into. One thing you need to know is that the number of adults with autism currently waiting for placement is 80,000, with another estimated 500,000 transitioning to the state-funded system over the next 10 years. Facilities are not so easy to get into. And another con to living outside the home in group settings are this placement can be institutionalized rather than person-centered care. Congregate housing such as farmsteads or group homes can start with great intentions, but managing and funding these settings may require professional management, and that leads to institutionalization of these environments. Another problem is persons living in group homes have varying needs, but rules are tailored for the group rather than the individual for efficiency purposes. This may result in less autonomy and self-determination for you. With that being said, there are also many pros to living in a group home environment. There'll be staff to assist you with cooking, shopping, transportation, and scheduling appointments. I know when you first are out on your own, that stuff can be really overwhelming. So you will also be surrounded by peers that can relate to the same types of experiences and difficulties you encounter. Living in a group home or residential facility could work for you, but that's not your only option. There are single residency apartments within facilities. It's almost like living in a college dorm. This way you have your privacy, your own space, but then you're also surrounded by like peers and have the extra support you may need. But again, there could be a wait. We can also look at living independently in the community in an apartment, if that's something you may be interested in. Living in your own apartment can actually cost less than a group home or a residential facility. And services can be provided by caregivers that actually work for you under your direction. And they can be there for 24 hours. They can come and go as needed. So that's a total another option you can look into. So together we need to determine your level of independence and the types of supports you may need to live as independently but still safely as possible. It is important that you have a voice in choosing where and how you want to live, because the research consistently reveals that individuals living at the highest level of independence have a better quality of life. And that is what we want for you, Colton.
Absolutely, Colton. That's what we want for you. And we just want to help you find what's best for you. So we're just going to put all the options out on the table, just as Stephanie has gone through. And Stephanie, your concerns are completely understandable. The process of launching where, letting your child your adult child move out into the world on their own, living independently, that process is difficult for the majority of parents who have children with disabilities and autism. So we're here to do our best to make this process as easy as possible for you guys, all while keeping Colton's goals and his desires the center of our focus. But I have some information that'll put you to ease. As Tiffany just mentioned, group homes or residential facilities, while it is quite difficult, it can be difficult to get placed into those, they are something worth thinking about, because they are places that'll help you. Again, like I touched on the social interaction, they will provide you the structured opportunities to interact, and there will be staff that assists you in interacting with your peers and other residents, who will encourage you to participate in activities that you may want to, but you may not know how to get started on. There's also a research study that shows that individuals with autism and other disabilities who have lived in one of these facilities, from the time that they started, they were participating in social activities 0% of the time, and until the end of their stay there, they were participating up to 21% of the time. So that is an increase, and it is something worth noting. While you will have that independence, you'll also be able to build on that skill and make meaningful friendships. And Colton, I know that's something you mentioned that you struggle with, so I hope that this puts you to ease a little bit. Overall, as research shows, you will enjoy a more social life. And that's our goal here today.
This is a lot of great information, a lot of information that I kind of knew about, but not really. And it'll take me a while to get comfortable with the idea of Colton moving out, getting a job, and being independent, because of course I worry. And it would be awesome if there were some supports for parents as well. I know there's a lot of supports for parents with kids, but what about, those parents with the adults? That's pretty scary.
There are some supports for parents, and personally, I offer support to many parents throughout this process. It is very tough. I can completely understand. So I'm always one call, one email away. My door is always open to help throughout this process for both you and Colton. We all just want to make this as comfortable as possible while helping Colton achieve his goals. And again, back to research. Research suggests that when parents are given that support through this process, it allows them to let their child be independent and not worry as much, and allow them to make those decisions for themselves and independently, and not feeling the need to involve themselves in every decision they make for their life.
Well, thank you for all of that awesome information. I'm sure I will need your support as we move forward.
Well, it seems like we have covered quite a bit of material today, and I don't want to overwhelm you with much more. It seems like we've created a really good foundation for moving forward. We've heard everybody's perspective. And before we go, there's just a few more things I'd like to go over. Stephanie, for your benefit, and Shazine or Tiffany, if you want to chime in at any point, feel free. And Colton, let me know if you have any other questions. But there's a few other frequently asked questions that we receive from parents for children who are transitioning. So I thought it might be worth sharing this with you. Well, first of all, one of the things that is really great about what we've got going on today is that Colton has been helping us lead his transition planning meeting. This is really important for clients to help ensure that the team is focused on what the client wants. And meetings, when they're led by other people, although they may have the best of intentions, can often be pulled into directions that benefit themselves rather than benefiting our student, benefiting Colton. And it's also really helping him with his self-determination and autonomy. So I'm really proud of him for that today. Way to go. Also, I wanted to touch briefly on some of the legal issues regarding hiring people with disabilities, because it seems like that's an area where we're going to move next. And Tiffany, maybe you can comment on what some of those legal aspects might be.
The legal aspects, where are we? Sorry, guys. So some of the legal aspects are, we have the Americans with Disabilities Act. This is a law that ensures that people with disabilities are not discriminated against in terms of jobs, schools, transportations, and all public and private open to the public. Colton will be protected by law as he transitions out into the real world. Additionally, there is the Rehabilitation Act, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, and the Civil Service Reform Act. These protect various rights for people with disabilities in the workforce and society.
Great, thank you for sharing that. Another question that often comes up is whether or not behavior analysts working with transition age youth have a responsibility to support client self-determinism. And I just want to reassure you that that's absolutely, that's a core part of our code of ethics. Specifically, we have a code that states that it's the rights of our clients are paramount, and we support their legal rights and prerogatives. So that's the other part of it. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. What are some other, I know I'm all about worry, but are there other barriers that might hinder Colton's success as he transitions into adulthood?
Well, yeah, but earlier we discussed the funding, the limited housing. We also know that individuals with ASD have trouble transitioning to new routines and environments. Meeting and socializing with people, Colton mentioned, it can be challenging and stressful. Learning new skills that come with adulthood and having your own place or maneuvering around a city independently can be really overwhelming for anyone. Organizing daily activities independently and a lack of structure can also really be problematic. And rigidity and inability to deal with unplanned changes in the schedule, as we know happen in day-to-day life, can also be an issue. And managing a home bills and caring for themselves may be difficult.
Okay, well, this has been a lot of information today, and I really appreciate everyone meeting with us today. I appreciate the time you all took out of your busy schedules to come together to help us find these options that are best for Colton. It'd be great to see you all again. We would love if you guys could join us at Colton's graduation party. I've been planning it for months, and it'll be a wonderful time, and I would love if you guys brought your families. You guys have meant so much to us over these last years, and I just want to give something back to you to show you my appreciation.
Yes, please come. That would make it even more special to me.
Wow. Thank you, Stephanie and Colton, so much for your gracious invitation. It's really so thoughtful of both of you. However, I think I can speak on everyone's behalf that it would actually be a conflict of interest for us to come, as we just want to ensure that our relationships with you remain professional, to ensure we just continue to keep Colton's future and his best interests at the center of our focus. But please know we are so proud of your accomplishments, Colton, and we are definitely going to be cheering for you and celebrating with you in spirit.
Yeah, I just want to second what Beth just said. We will have to turn down the invitation, but thank you so much. And Colton, I am so proud of you. We see you well over the years.
I can't wait to graduate.
Woo! Good. Likewise, but thank you and best of luck to you, Colton.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I guess I didn't really think that one through, but oh well.
Oh, don't worry about it. It's totally all right. Now, everyone, I just want to thank you all for being here today. Colton, we just wish you the best of luck moving forward. And I hope that we've helped give you an idea of some of the potential bridges that we can help you to build to reach your goals. We are definitely here for you to answer any questions you might have. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us if there's any way that we can continue to help and keep you moving forward.
Yeah, you have all of our contact information, so we're here to help. And if you have any questions after you leave here today, please let us know.
Thank you, guys. You probably will be hearing from me soon, of course, but thank you.
Thank you.